If we don't get some rain soon, we're going to be in some serious trouble.
Eyes in the sky, keeping watch on fire conditions as we get through another day of high fire danger in Maine. Good evening, I'm Pat Callahan.
And I'm Cindy Williams. This dry spring weather is keeping firefighters busy all over the state.
All week they've been responding to brush fires, even some structure fires. They're also keeping watch over the woods.
NewsCenter's Chris Rose joins us live from Mount Agamenticus in York, site of one of the few remaining manned fire towers in the state. Chris?
Well, Cindy, here on Mount Agamenticus in New York, you can see behind me the views are spectacular. You can see forest land for miles. It was back in 1991 that the fire tower here, as well as others across the state, were shut down because of budget cuts. Now this tower is manned by a handful of volunteers who keep a closeful watch over southern Maine and parts of New Hampshire.
On a clear day, I can see all the way up to Portland, Maine. I can see Mount Washington. I can see the skyline down in Boston.
Newington, New Hampshire firefighter Tommy McQuaid is spending his day off high atop Mount Agamenticus, looking for any signs of smoke in the woods of Maine and New Hampshire.
Constant vigilant look out over the horizon. You're looking for any signs of smoke, puff of white through the trees or anything like that. You're listening to radio chatter to hear any of the local departments going out, so you can try to get some eyes on what they're looking for.
He has spotted several brush fires over the past few days. In Maine alone, firefighters have responded to more than 70 fires in the past 3 weeks. In Burlington, flames burned at least 12 acres and several structures. In Somerville, flames spread out across 2.5 acres in the West Bank Preserve. Volunteer firefighters surrounded the flames and were helped out by a Forest Service helicopter dropping water on the fire from above. They had it out in about 2 hours. Helping local fire departments and the Forest Service get to fires quicker is what the volunteers in this tower do.
Fire doubles in size every 19 seconds. So the quicker we can get people out there, put the fire out, the smaller it's going to be and the less damage there'll be.
Dry conditions and gusty winds will keep the fire danger high and these volunteers busy until we get a soaking rain.
If we don't get some rain soon, we're going to be in some serious trouble.
And the tower here, just one of 3 in the state of Maine, still operational, all staffed by volunteers. The other 2 are in Sanford and Waterboro. And the message the volunteers and firefighters have for the general public: during this dry spell, things are expected to continue for a while. No open fires, and please do not discard any lit cigarettes. Live in York, I'm Chris Rose. Back to you in the studio.
We continue our team coverage of the high fire danger with meteorologist A.J. Burnett.
He is in Gray and explains why this time of year is always tricky.
All week long, we've been telling you about the high fire danger across the state of Maine, not only here in central Maine, but all across the entire state. And there are a number of reasons why that's the case. First and foremost, of course, there has not been a lot of rainfall of recent, and we're not talking about a whole lot of rain coming anytime soon. Now, the other main component, and this happens every year, is the fact that the leaves are just now starting to come out on the trees. That means there's no shade to protect the sun from getting right down to the ground and causing last year's foliage, all this dead material, to dry out very quickly and just serve as kindling for potential brush fires. In Gray, I'm A.J. Burnett, News Center.
And the fire danger could ease up just a bit in the next few days. Joe Cupo will have details on that coming up in just a few minutes.
Last month, 200 demonstrators marched into Portland City Hall shouting "Black Lives Matter." Organizers say this was meant to fight police violence and other racial injustice in Maine and across the U.S. Just last month, there were 3 incidents in Portland police believe were racially motivated.
On April 3rd, an interracial family was walking on 4th Street in the Old Port when someone drove by screaming a racial slur. On April 12th, an anti-Muslim message was spray painted on a market on St. John Street. And on April 19th, a man was attacked by 2 brothers as they reportedly yelled racial slurs on Congress Street. Now, Portland leaders are speaking up about this.
News Center Samantha Edwards tells us what they're saying. Samantha?
Pat, Cindy, bottom line, city leaders want people to know any form of racism or hatred will not be tolerated here in Portland. Mayor Michael Brennan, members of the city council and the school board spoke about how these racially fueled acts cannot be ignored. Portland as a whole was praised for being open and accepting to people from all backgrounds, but they say situations like these need to be addressed. Each called for members of the community to speak up against such acts, arguing unless it is a citywide effort, things will not change.
And if we all accept that accountability, when we see something wrong, we speak and we take action on behalf of our community members. That's how you set community standards.
It has to be the entire city that says the seeds of these things, the seeds of hate, don't land on fertile ground in Portland.
One point Mayor Brennan wanted to stress, yes, these recent situations are troublesome and problematic, but they should not reflect on the city of Portland as a whole.
All right, Samantha Edwards, thank you. City leaders say there are groups at work in Portland and across the state, such as Seeds of Peace, which help ease racial tension and promote equality. High school students work on solutions to conflicts involving race, sexuality, and war. Also, Equality Maine has partnered with advocates from Russia to help bring awareness to the struggles of LGBT youth. There is a new battle underway between the state and the Passamaquoddy tribe over elver fishing.
The Department of Marine Resources says the Passamaquoddies are again violating the rules that were created to restrict the amount of eels that can be caught. And the state says the tribe is putting the entire multi-million-dollar fishery at risk. NewsCenter's Don Kerrigan is here now with more on that. Don.
Hi, if it seems like we've heard this before, we have. It is one more big fight over those tiny little eels. The state and the Passamaquoddies had a confrontation over elver fishing rules several years ago. That helped to lead to creation of a catch quota system to satisfy federal fisheries regulators. But the Maine Department of Marine Resources claims the latest move by the tribe are aimed at bypassing the quota system and says that they worry it could lead to federal regulators banning any future fishing. The state says the Passamaquoddies are allowing more people to have licenses than are supposed to and letting them use fixed nets like these, which are called fyke nets, and they catch a lot more eels than handheld nets. The tribe has insisted all along it has the right to control how many people fish and how they do it, and has resisted the state's efforts at control. But Commissioner Pat Kelleher says the tribe's violations of state and federal rules are putting all fishermen at risk.
We understand and agree that they are a sovereign nation within the state of Maine. We understand and agree that they have sustenance rights. But the fact of the matter is, we manage marine fisheries in the state of Maine. It is clear that that is not a jurisdiction that was discussed as part of the Maine Indian Land Claim Settlement Act.
We grew up with this sort of stuff. It's ridiculous. It has more to do with protecting commercial interests of certain individuals or non-natives in this case than it has to do with protecting the resource.
Pescatamukadig, we are the people who fish. We're the people who hunt pollock. We have a marine-based culture. It's what we do, it's what we've done, it's what we'll always do.
Now, Commissioner Kelleher tells us that the state knows where these nets are that they say are violating the rules. They're hoping the people who have them will voluntarily follow new emergency rules and not fish. If they do, he says, the state will enforce the law. As you just heard, the tribal leaders insist that they're going to continue to fish, and we'll see what happens with that. Commissioner Kelleher says at this point he and Tribal Chief Fred Moore have not been able to meet face-to-face to talk about it.
Thank you, Don.
Thanks.
When I pull the curtain, I certainly am afraid. That's not a good feeling, especially when you're afraid for your child's life.
Parents of sick children say they're tired of living in fear when their kids are hospitalized. Now lawmakers are listening.
Coming up next on NewsCenter 6, Vivian Lee updates our ongoing report on parents fighting to get medical marijuana legalized in Maine hospitals.
And a little later, Tom Brady has a speaking engagement tonight in Massachusetts, and fans are wondering if he's going to address Deflategate. We'll have a live report from the event coming up. A growing number of parents say medical marijuana is a life-saving treatment for their sick children, and they won't stop fighting until it can legally be used in Maine hospitals. the very place they say their children need it the most.
Hospital officials say allowing parents to use medical marijuana jeopardizes federal certifications and funding. A controversial issue currently being debated by state lawmakers this session in Augusta. It's a story News Center's Vivian Lee has been following since last November, and Vivian joins us now with more.
Well, Pat and Cindy, we told you how parents are being put in the difficult position of going along with a hospital ban or breaking federal law and giving the drug to their children. Their stories convinced lawmakers to draft a bill that would require hospitals to allow the use of smokeless pot. Now they face the challenge of coming up with a solution everyone can live with.
Welcome to this meeting of the Joint Standing Committee on Health and Human Services. If you wish to testify, please state your name, residence, and the organization you represent.
My name is Susan Meehan from Dixfield, Maine, probably better known as Cindy May's mom.
Susan Meehan is finally getting a chance to plead her case before the people who changed the laws.
I will not place my daughter's life in danger by withholding the only medication that stops her seizures.
My name is Samantha Brown from South Berwick.
Samantha Brown is finally getting the opportunity as well.
When a hospital prohibits a patient to a life-saving medication, even a plant-based one, that hospital creates a potentially fatal situation and directly puts my child in danger.
Legislators are considering a proposal that would allow the use of medical marijuana or cannabis in hospitals. Because marijuana is considered an illegal drug by the federal government, its use is currently banned in hospitals, which are federally licensed. A policy Brown and Meehan say has forced them to take drastic steps.
This left me as a mom in the uncomfortable position to sneak Kaylee's medicine to her to protect her life.
Parents and patients should not feel threatened stopping a child's seizure or treating their pain or other ailment with a safe and effective, legal in the state of Maine, plant-based medicine.
Meehan's daughter, Cindy May, has Dravet syndrome, a rare form of epilepsy that is resistant to most medications. When we first met her a year ago, she was using a wheelchair, suffering from about 100 seizures a day. Now, thanks to medical marijuana, the 12-year-old's seizures are down to single digits a day, and she is completely weaned off of all medications. But landing in the hospital with a seizure is always a risk. That's exactly what happened in March. After Cindy May was transported to Maine Medical Center, the admitting doctor told Meehan she could not give Cindy May her medical marijuana.
I asked him to please excuse me and get out of my way, and I administered her medication. You know, it would have taken handcuffs to prevent me from stopping Cindy May's seizure.
Do you want to put your baby right here?
Kaylee Brown also has Dravet syndrome. She began having seizures when she was just 9 months old. The condition and the side effects from the drugs left her with developmental delays. Just like in Cindy May's case, medical marijuana has helped the 4-year-old wean off medication. But side effects have left her in medically induced comas twice at Maine Medical Center. Each time, her mom says she was grilled by the medical staff to see if she had brought medical marijuana into the hospital. She denied having the drug and gave it to her daughter when no one was looking.
When I pull the curtain, I certainly am afraid. That's not a good feeling, especially when you're afraid for your child's life.
Brown says other parents are not as brave, and the law must be changed so all medical marijuana patients can take their medicine while in the hospital.
They're afraid to do what they need to do because the doctors are bullying them, and that's not fair. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Besides parents and advocates, the legislature's Joint Standing Committee on Health and Human Services also heard from the Maine Hospital Association, which represents all of the state's hospitals. Spokesman Jeff Austin says the association is against allowing medical marijuana to be used in hospitals, but sympathizes with families of sick patients. He told lawmakers the bill will put the association in a tough spot because hospitals are required to follow both state and federal laws.
They're afraid that they have to choose which law to break, either a federal law or this bill that you would be passing.
So what's at risk? A heck of a lot. The associations say Maine hospitals could lose their U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration licenses to dispense medications if cannabis is allowed in their facilities. Another huge worry, it would put their federal Medicare certifications at risk, which amounts to about $1 billion in federal funding every year.
Do you want to take on this risk for us and guarantee us that if we lose federal certification, for every Medicare patient we treat, you will reimburse us?
Senator Eric Brakey sponsored this bill after seeing our stories about these families. He says nursing homes and hospice centers in Maine allow patients to use medical marijuana, and no federal action has been taken against them. He says lawmakers are willing to work with hospitals to a point.
I'm willing to do everything we can to bend over backwards to accommodate the Maine hospitals, short of compromising on the rights of patients to have access to their medicine.
Parents are hopeful legislators will come up with a solution because their children's lives are on the line.
Now, the Hospital Association says that the law is passed. They need a letter from the state which enforces federal regulations for hospitals, and that letter needs to state it would never shut down a hospital for allowing patients to use medical marijuana. Now, Senator Brakey says lawmakers will consider all possibilities as long as it doesn't get in the way of a patient's ability to have their medicine, medical marijuana, in the hospital. Now, the legislature could take up this bill in the next few weeks, but we're going to see a lot of debate on this coming up.
Sure we will.
Thank you, Viv.
Thanks.
We're just a week into the month of May, and we had a beach day today. That is, if you had the day off or played hooky.
But don't get too used to it. Joe Cupo has details up next. It was downright hot out there for the first time in a very long time.
We're rewriting the record books.
I took that honey-do list and I threw it out today. I said, no, got on my bike and just rode all day long. Let's have a look at the next 3 days. We have some big changes coming tomorrow in the temperature. They'll still have the sun out there, but look at those temperatures. A far cry from what we had today. It'll gradually warm up, though, over the weekend. Right now at the Jetport, it's 74. The wind off the water at 15 miles an hour. The pressure holding steady at 30.3 inches. Everything just kind of came together today. You can see by looking at the satellite loop, we had sunshine dominating the sky. And in addition to that, we had the westerly wind around this ridge of high pressure, which pretty much negated the sea breeze for at least part of the day, which enabled just about everybody today to jump into the 80s. Portland had a high temperature of 84 degrees, which is a record high for this date, low of 46. Lewiston, and I'm estimating these because the automated station is still down in Lewiston, I'm estimating their high at 85 and a low temperature of 45. Won't be off by much. Right now, temperatures are still close to 80 from Waterville down through Augusta, Lewiston, Raymond. To the north, Hank is 82. In Norway, it's 78. In Rumford, 70s up north. Al Dyer was raving about the weather. He's 78. Berlin, 79. Along the coast, the wind has shifted into the south and things have cooled down. Mid-70s in Saco and Wiscasset and close to the 70 in Rockland. See the water temperature? 46. That will be playing a big role in our weather tomorrow. Look at these relative humidities. Yikes. It is bone dry out there. These are desert conditions, so fire danger remains very high. The red flag warning up again today until 8 o'clock tonight. It'll be dropped after that, but a fire watch, I'm sure, will remain in effect. Here's a look at the big picture. We see some rain off the southeast coast. There's an area of low pressure sitting down here, and I do mean sitting. It's not going anywhere, so we'll just be watching that for the next few days. This front was sitting to our north, but this will begin to move tonight. It's expected to move down to the south, and once it goes by, the wind will shift from the west into the east. And that's going to give the Gulf of Maine a chance to play a role in our weather tomorrow. High temperatures tomorrow, despite the sun, will probably stay in the low to mid 50s along the Maine coast, upper 50s to near 60 over the interior sections of Maine. As you head farther to the west of New Hampshire, most of these folks will probably still be in the 70s. So if you have the day off and you want warm weather, head to the west. Now, this is Saturday morning. Here's the front still here, but it will move northward as a warm front that day. We'll start the day with clouds and look for some sunshine. Temperatures start to warm. They'll continue warming up on Sunday. This cold front will drop down. Might kick off a few showers on Sunday, but it will sit right over us Monday and Tuesday of next week. To the marine forecast we go. The Weather Service calling for a southwest wind, 10 to 15 knots tonight, becoming northeast after midnight behind that front. Tomorrow we're looking for east to northeast winds at 10 to 20 knots with higher gusts and seas running 3 to 5 feet. A small craft advisory will be in effect. For tonight, mostly clear. Lows will be in the 40s. The wind dies down. Tomorrow, look for sunshine for the most part, but much cooler, 52 to 60. Warmer toward New Hampshire with that east to northeast wind. Tomorrow night, increasing clouds after midnight, lows 38 to 43. It'll start out cloudy on Saturday, then become partly sunny. Warms up to the upper 60s. Sunday, partly sunny. Into the 70s we go with a chance for afternoon showers, and then Monday and Tuesday look very unsettled with a chance for showers and thunderstorms each day. It'll be drying out Wednesday and Thursday with temperatures staying in the 60s. Along the coast tomorrow, as we say, much cooler, low 50s, upper 50s Saturday. Then it warms up into the low 70s on Sunday, close to 60 on Monday and Tuesday, and a little warmer on Wednesday.
All right, thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Coming up in sports, just a day after Deflategate report, Tom Brady is talking at an event in Massachusetts.
But is QB12 ready to address the issue?
I'm Grady Trimble, live at Salem State University, where Tom Brady is making his first public appearance since the Wells report came out. That implicates him in the Deflategate scandal. Will he address the elephant in the room tonight? We'll have a preview coming up in sports.
Good evening, everybody. One day after the NFL released its findings on Deflategate implicating Tom Brady in the scandal, the Patriots quarterback is making a previously scheduled appearance at Salem State University in Massachusetts. NewsCenter's Grady Trimble is in Salem, Mass, and he joins us now live with more. Grady?
Hi, Lee. Tom Brady's set to speak in the building behind me in about an hour. Tonight's event was already scheduled before the Wells report came out. Brady is expected to sit down with sportscaster Jim Gray for an interview in front of a sold-out crowd of 4,000 people. There will also be time for an audience Q&A at the end with pre-screened questions. Ted Wells' investigation finds it's more probable than not that the New England Patriots had personnel that participated in violations of the NFL's playing rules, and also said Tom Brady was at least generally aware of the inappropriate activities. Pats owner Robert Kraft announced the 4-month investigation's findings, and today the Super Bowl MVP's agent Don Yee is calling it a disappointment, saying it jumped to conclusions and didn't include Brady's testimony. Yee wrote in a statement, "This report contains significant and tragic flaws, and it's common knowledge in the legal industry that reports like this generally are written for the benefit of the purchaser. In this case, that's the NFL." Tom Brady is making his first public appearance tonight since that report came out, but because this event was previously scheduled, it's unclear whether he will address the elephant in the room, but we'll have complete coverage tonight on NewsCenter at 11. Lee?
All right, Grady, great job. It'll be interesting to hear if he says something, and if so, what exactly Tom Brady says. Obviously, a lot of people want to hear from him. The Portland Sea Dogs may have a familiar face in the lineup this weekend. It's likely Shane Victorino will play at Hadlock Field Friday and Saturday. Victorino was supposed to play for the Dogs on a rehab assignment last summer, but never wound up coming. Another beautiful day for baseball. USM took on Rhode Island College in conference tournament play. Bottom of the first inning, Matt Bender with the base hit to left center field. Sam Dexter came around to score. Huskies on the board. It was 1-0. A couple batters later, Devin Warren with the deep drive. This will go over the outfielder's head. It's an RBI double, scoring Bender. Huskies were up 3-0 at that point. Skip ahead to the bottom of the fourth, and Sam Dexter stays hot. The former Messalonski High School standout shoots the gap in right center field for an RBI triple. Huskies inch closer to a tournament title with a 6-2 win over RIC. USM plays again tomorrow morning at 9:30.
Nice day for a ball game.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back. That's NewsCenter. NBC Nightly News comes your way next.
And that's followed by 207. Have a great night, everybody.
We'll see you at 11.